Through the process of fasting, you're literally cleaning out junk DNA, and through the process of reintroduction of certain foods, certain supplements, certain key nutrients, you can activate certain key genes that will help hack your evolutionary process. We're in an exciting time right now because we have the opportunity to do that. The information is available. The bodies of info are there for you to be able to rewrite your own DNA and switch on certain genes and switch off others. Through the use of NMN, this is nicotinamide mononucleotide, David Sinclair has made some breakthroughs through the Sirtuin pathways and mTOR. It's some really cool stuff. In his book, he starts to get into detail, and he uses us as a CD player and the analogy that the foods and proteins, stuff that we consume, over time, our ability to read said proteins becomes diminished. That's why we age. It's because our reader, our laser that reads all of our information that comes into our body, i.e. proteins and food, nutrients, etc., becomes diminished over time. And so your ability to utilize certain key nutrients that would keep your mitochondria, for instance, healthy, your mitochondrial density over time diminishes, and your ability to keep those mitochondria clean and help them clean house and keep the oxygen flowing and keep the ATP, your adenosine triphosphate, your source of energy in your cell. So you need to keep producing ATP. Your mitochondria are the key factors, the key component in this process, the key organ in that process. So NAD is the fuel that drives this. This is what David Sinclair has uncovered. So NMN is a nicotine molecule that has been modified in such a way that it will activate certain genes and turn off others. He has actually deemed it a workout in a pill in a roundabout way. He hasn't actually said that specifically, but he pretty much has said that on his podcast. Now there's a new version of NMN coming down the pipe. It's called MIB626. It's in phase 3 right now, and it'll be a game changer because it'll create an NMN that is it doesn't deplete over time. It has a longer shelf life and has fixed some of the problems, the issues that had arisen with NMN itself in the first place. So I'm really excited at this time because, you know, as someone who's always been very excited and very, very interested in biohacking, I love David Osprey and his bulletproof and, pushing the envelope on what we can do with our bodies, because I believe we're always worth more. And in order to express your worth and your value in this world, it takes a little bit of outside the box thinking. You know, everybody sort of has this small purview, this small window on their perspective of the world. Once you expand this view a little bit and sort of study the gaps in the cultures, and you study the gaps in medicine across it, and then you start to find the commonalities, and it's really exciting right now because what I've been doing, I've been following all of the research that's been done, and a lot of the billionaires and millionaires and stuff, they follow this kind of stuff, and they have the ability to purchase these things. Like, for instance, NMN is not cheap. It is not a cheap thing. But you know what is cheap? Fasting. Fasting does the exact same thing that NMN does. It starts to switch off all of the junk DNA that's basically been switched on by the junk that you've been consuming, and it gets rid of it. Then your body starts producing, well, first it starts utilizing glycogen. All your fat stores in your body, they start getting eaten up, and you go into ketosis, and this has been a craze lately. Ketosis diet. We go into ketosis and we start burning fat as a source of fuel rather than glucose. It's an amazing thing, and it helps when it comes to disease. If you're developing a disease because you have too much sugar in your blood, ketosis is your ally for sure. And then on the back end, you just got to watch your micronutrients and make sure that you keep certain key nutrients, monitor your blood, monitor your pH levels, make sure that you keep your minerals up and your certain key micronutrients that are essential. As long as you watch that and your ketosis, there's nothing wrong with ketosis. It's amazing, and your cognitive abilities will go way up. And man, there's a lot of studies been done on the effects of ketosis and fasting but that's only one component of fasting. There's a million other things that happen. Your growth hormone, for instance, goes up 2,000%. If you're someone into bodybuilding, you're someone into fitness, 2,000% increase in growth hormone, that's free steroids right there. You're literally getting free steroids released from your own inner pharmacy. And at the appropriate levels that aren't going to be harmful for your kidneys and your liver, other organs, because people don't factor that in also. When you're taking steroids, you're taking a large amount of one thing. Your body has to make that you. Your body has to convert that into you, essentially. So through that process, you can develop some issues. For instance, taking testosterone injections. Most of the sources you're getting your testosterone from are bovine. Okay, so you're probably getting bovine from a source that's not grass-fed, not organic. So you're going to have these other inflammatory markers in the molecules of the testosterone. Yes, you're injecting testosterone that could have signaling molecules telling you to switch on inflammation and switch on these other things that you don't really want when you're working out. The last thing you want is extra inflammation when you're working out. That can be really harmful to your muscles. So what you want to do is you want to have your lactic acid build up in your muscles, and then you want to have when you're during the healing process, and then you want it to get out through your lymphatic system, right, and flush. But when you have the appropriate levels released from your own inner pharmacy, you don't have to worry about your body taking on that extra stress on the kidneys and the liver, trying to synthesize that to make it to make it so that it can be utilized efficiently in the body. Because that's a lot of where our energy goes. Everybody consuming these things like a high protein diet, a lot of meats. Yeah, it takes a while to process that stuff. If you're eating fruit, it's automatically converted. In the body, it's pretty quick process, right? Now there's a misleading concept of sugar and sugar spiking and diabetes. We're talking about sugars being in three classes, first of all. Okay, you got glucose, fructose, galactose, and sucrose. Well, four, I guess, but basically glucose and sucrose are very similar. Fructose is the sugar that's in fruit. Galactose is the sugar that's in milk. So for instance, a mother's breast milk, that has galactose. And galactose is very good for you. There's nothing wrong. Your body can break it down very, very easily. Fructose, same thing. The fruit, and especially if you're consuming the fruit with the rest of it, not just the juice itself, then you got the fiber, and it takes your body a little longer to break down, and it's also a prebiotic. There's a few other things you got to consider there, right? So sugar is great. Fructose, I should say, is great as long as it's consumed within your fruits and your vegetables, and you keep the flesh of the fruit itself too. Now, glucose itself is a processed sugar created sometimes from all these other sources, cane sugar, whatever it may be, but it's glucose. For your body to break that down, it's almost instantaneous, and it can spike your sugar. So glucose and fructose and galactose, completely different the way they're absorbed and utilized in the body. We can get into a discussion about how the process of alkalinity and what sugars get, they essentially end up alkaline, and then proteins end up being acidic and causing more acidity. But there's a lot of things to talk about there when we're getting into that stuff. So, but getting back, so NMN and fasting, pretty much the same, does almost the same thing. So you literally have the ability for free right now to clean your junk DNA and rewrite it. How are you going to switch on these genes, these sirtuin pathways, etc.? Well, if you look at what David Sinclair was saying in his book, what he says is that certain foods, certain key nutrients will switch these things on as long as your reader has been cleaned a little bit so that it's not confused. Because, this is actually opening up the Pandora's box on how cancer starts also. It's all starting at a cellular level. Cancer is a cellular dysfunction. Your proteins, whatever has been read in your reader has been read wrong, and you're producing the wrong cells. That's what cancer is. It's your body being confused with the wrong information, and your body with an overactive immune system, like I said, there's when you get into this Pandora's box, there's a lot of factors to consider also. But when we're getting down to the brass tacks here on a base level, cellularly, if that's a word, on a cellular level, we're talking about a cellular dysfunction caused by confusion of the synergy between the cells in the first place. So in a typical scenario, in a healthy body with someone who has achieved homeostasis, so basically, you don't have any health problems in a normal scenario. You consume a protein. Your body uses RNA to create clones, essentially, of the cells of your own DNA. Those communicate with the proteins, and the proteins communicate with these replicas of these cells in your RNA. So it's a messenger RNA that communicates between the cells and the protein, your cells, your DNA and the protein, and figuring out how to write the code. So it uses the protein, it's like I said, it reads it, and then it decides whether it needs to use it to build tissues, bones, whatever cells are needed in the body, because your body is constantly going through the process of renewal. And fasting is what speeds up this process. So this is why it's so exciting, is because we're at a time now where we know these things. We know that we can speed up the evolutionary process. We know we can go in and look at some of these characteristics of a cell and look at the characteristics of certain nutrients and what signaling molecules are switching genes on and which ones are switching genes off. So there's a long list of things that switch your genes off. It's obesogens and it's preservatives. It's all the stuff that God did not intend for us to eat. That's what will switch off parts of you that you want to become alive, right? If you want to be vital and you want to be alive, you want to switch the parts of you on that are vital and that are alive. And you don't want the cells that are complacent or senescent, cell senescence. It causes your cells to die. But that's part of a cycle. It's okay. Your cells die all the time. You go through the renewal process, and that's what your skin, So someone who has psoriasis, for instance, right, has an overactive production of skin, right? Every 6 days, I think you produce a new layer of skin or sooner, every 3 days, something. It's a very fast process so what's happened is their cells, their genes that tell them to do that have been switched on by stress over time, whatever, autoimmune dysfunction, and we're talking about a cellular dysfunction, right, at its base level. Could be passed down generationally. It could have come on in the early years. Who knows? Okay, there's too many factors to consider to go there. We just look at what evidence we have in the cells themselves. And at the end of the day, we can look at all that stuff and we can play a guessing game, but what you do is you just clean it out. You just fast. And then NMN will help with this process and help clean out this stuff, but it's not really necessary. Because in the absence of food, in the absence of excess protein, your body does it automatically. It's the automatic process. And that's why your growth hormone is going up 2,000%. Your body knows inherently from passage of time, you're passed down. All this stuff is written in your DNA. It's all a part of the process. God gave us all these amazing abilities, these amazing processes to keep, and they're all cycles and self-sufficient cycles. The only reason things happen wrong is because we interfere with those cycles. We interfere somehow. So epigenetics is the study of all these environmental factors that play a role in which genes are on and which genes are off. And it's amazing, man. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm a nobody. I don't really know too much. I'm not, excessively intelligent or anything like that. But I know what's important. I have 5 kids, and I know what's important to keep myself alive, and I know what's important to keep them alive. And I lost my mom and my dad, and a bunch of people. Everybody's lost lots of people with cancer, and that's what got me obsessed about this stuff. Is wanting to know what was happening on a cellular level. What's really going on here, right? So that's what led me, and at the first part of my journey was that I was learning about the cells themselves from David Sinclair, and all this information is out there for us to access. And, in an age of information, ignorance is a choice. So let's try not to be ignorant and take in as many different facets of information from many different places as we can, and then break it down to a level where we can understand it on a whole for everybody else to absorb. So I'm going to leave it there. I think I've said enough for this video for now. We're going to explore this further, though, and I'm going to do a lot more videos on this. But my son just got a call. He's talking to his uncle or his aunt or somebody, and it's sort of distracting things here, and I don't want to get into a distracted discussion. So I'll approach this at a later date when I can focus my attention a little clearer on what I'm talking about. Okay, hope this was informative, though, and hope somebody appreciated what I had to say.